Back to the phone lines in a bit. Here's today's conversation with Adam. Well, our weekly conversation with Adam Terry comes on a Tuesday this week because the Mets were on yesterday, but we're looking back on Syracuse 24 and NC State 17, another late night in Raleigh on Saturday. And, man, this team makes it interesting, doesn't it, Adam? Like, they do, like, so many things well and so many things wacky, it feels like all at once. It's hard to take your eyes off this group right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting group, and you love the fact of what they've been able to do over the last few weeks. They were, after the Stanford game, you're reeling and trying to figure out what are they, who are they about, and then they are able to get this, big win down at NC State against a quality opponent. I mean, is NC State the world beaters that we expected at the beginning of the season? I don't necessarily think that. I don't subscribe to that, but I do think that Syracuse is a solid team, and now we're in a position with a bye week, and then you go Thursday night, big-time game, hostile environment, national television, who are you and what you're about? And I think that's the proving point. And the luxury that Syracuse has is number 6 is back there. Mm-hmm. He's been in some big-time games, right? So you love what he's capable of doing, 31 of 43 for 346 in 2 touchdowns. And the one that really stands out to me is he was sacked twice, right? Like, what he's doing is he's eluding sacks, and the way the speed that the ball is coming out, he's giving himself an opportunity to stay upright.
Everything we heard, right? I don't know about you, Adam. Like, I didn't get a chance to see, just the game times were similar. I didn't see a ton of Ohio State last year. I mean, you heard all the stories, and Ohio State fans like, oh, who's this McCourt guy? And then you see the stats like, oh, he didn't do well against pressure. I'm like, well, who does? Like, his stats this year against pressure, and setting aside the stats, right, you see him move in the pocket. Like, I don't know if he's improved that part of the game from Ohio State or whatever. He looks reasonably comfortable, right, operating in a confined area there at points.
Yeah, in that telephone booth, he's doing a great job, and they rolled him out a couple times during this. They've moved the launch point. They moved the pocket. They were able to give him an opportunity. The thing that you saw is how the offensive line adjusted. With the 3 down linemen, they're building a box in there, and then they're rushing 5. And how they were doing that is they were bringing 2 linebackers. And, when you started to see how that was being protected, how that was being blocked up, tip of the hat to the O-line, because it's a little tougher. They're bringing a guy from the backside, crossing him to the front side. But, he was ruthless. He stood in the pocket and delivered strikes down the field. And there were a couple times I was like, oh, you can't miss with that throw. Ooh, that's right on the money. Because they were tight windows and they were being thrown either to a slanting receiver into some type of traffic, or it was, right on the money, back shoulder, just falling to the ground a couple times. The wide receivers were able to catch that. So, I just like the ball placement, and, he's been pressured. He's been, people get after him, but it's just that, calming nature and take this however people want to, but, a guy that you look at and, he's probably the greatest of all time playing quarterback, but a guy like Tom Brady, and, is Kyle McCord Tom Brady? No, but he brings that calm, and everybody around him is better because he's on his game.
Yeah, I think we've seen that. We see that late in halves, late in games. I mean, this wasn't really late in the game, but it was fourth quarter. Look at the last touchdown pass, right, that he had against NC State. Like, in the scorebook, it's a 2-yard touchdown pass. That's reasonably unremarkable. But, like, Jackson Meeks, had this little out, and that ball, he wasn't really open except exactly where the ball got thrown, right, on the outside of him, so he could reach out and grab it and shield off the guy. Like, it's little things like that. The box score doesn't tell you, but, man, when you see it, it's really impressive.
If you haven't seen it, you got to see it, right? Like, it's one of those must-see TV type of deals where he does things that seem effortless that are very high quality, right, that are extremely tough to do. And I think that's the thing, is he makes the simple look extremely easy. The medium he makes look extremely easy. And then some of that tough stuff, you're sitting there, you're like, that didn't go too bad. And then if that's someone else, we might not be getting the ball off, right? So when we look at him and what he's capable of doing, I just, he's a fun player to watch. He distributes the football. everybody is rallying to the football on offense. People are blocking, and you've seen this big progression in this offense, and it's dictated by two people in my mind. You've got Kyle McCord, and then you've got a kid like LaQuint Allen who, almost topped that century mark in the rushing game. But, this is the one to me, right? Like, you go down to NC State, you come out with a win, and now you're almost where you should be. There could be an argument of, being 6-0 and things like that, but you're not. And maybe the best thing is that you lost early against a team like Stanford, and now you have an opportunity to rally the troops. And they've done that two road game wins, and now you have another opportunity. This will be 3. I don't know when the last time that occurred. It's been a long, long time since we've had 3 road wins.
Somebody who had the stat the other day, I think it's been since '98 that they last won 3 straight games away from the Dome. So it might have been '96. It's McNabb. We got to go back a really long time. And to the point, like, McNabb's got to be the last time, right? Like, if you were a Syracuse player, fan, whatever, that you went into basically every game being like, yeah, we have the better quarterback. Like, as good as Dungy was at points, as good as Nassib was his senior year, like, I look at this schedule, like, McCord going into all 6 games so far has been the better guy, and I look at everything up to maybe the Miami game. Obviously Cam Ward's having a great season. Like, when in that locker room you got the guy in the first 11 games of the season, what does that do to everybody else back there being like, hey, our guy's better than yours, you're gonna have to deal with it today?
Well, and you go into that, and you know that you're going to get the best punches thrown by the opposition. And, I think, the mentality of an offensive line is we have to keep him upright, and that's a tough one to do. You've got to go in and day out and make sure you're well polished. And, I think the offensive line has to take the mantra of Fran Brown of Dart and really take that into consideration, on a daily basis and live that way. Because it is. I mean, if you are able to keep Kyle McCord up, you do have a fighter's chance. And it's just one of those, it's a little bit of a cheat code, right? You know that going into it, you've got a cheat code and you feel confident, and that brings the confidence in that offense. And just one of those, I played with Steve McNair, and I played with Joe Flacco. And you always knew when Steve was on, you had an opportunity. When Joe was, and this was young Joe, right? This isn't the guy that played last weekend and threw the ball around. This is a young Joe, but it's that confidence, and it permeates. And everybody in there just knows that if you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be in a great position, and that's the best thing about having a quarterback like that.
Yeah, and as we got Adam Terry with us for our weekly visit, and I think it all combines, right, with the whole Fran Brown experience. Like, we're seeing a lot here from Fran. Like, I look at the end of the first half and like how that kind of got bungled a little bit, and you're like, all right, first time head coach learning on the job. But then you look at like his interactions with the players, and you look at just the general vibe of the team, and you're like, if that's the trade-off you're making right for first-year head coach learning, like that's a pretty good trade-off they're making right now.
Yeah, I think the one of the biggest things that I saw is just how players respond, right? Your first year, players are trying hard, they're responding well, but just the way guys got dialed in and the way that they responded. And there was a point in time where Fran had the meeting of the minds. Everybody's on the sideline. Offense is about to go out. Defense is coming off the field. He's got everybody locked into that. And then as soon as he walks out of the huddle, Elijah Robinson has got everybody locked in. And, are they there yet? Are they where they want to be yet? I think they're closer. They're closer to it than I initially anticipated, right? Like, and that's an awkward statement, but it's one where you never know how guys are going to respond in the locker room, and he has that locker room, and everybody is in lockstep, ready to go in each moment of the game, and it's fun to watch because the one thing that we talk about, how's the special teams going to do, and they've gotten better. The offense, I think they're continuing to show that they're a potent offense, and they're gonna be a problem for people down the stretch. And oh, by the way, the defense, hopefully in this near future, you get a leader back in Marlo Wax, but everybody else has held their end of the bargain. And now you get another guy back that is, that is the converse of a Kyle McCord, the leader in that, and hopefully we can see Marlo Wax in the near future.
Yeah, we'll see if he's out there for the Pittsburgh game or not. Sounds like that's right on the border of when his potential recovery would be. And then Justin Barron has been filling that role right the last few games. I don't know about you, Adam. I thought Saturday, and obviously he was involved in two of the big plays of the game, but even setting those aside, I could say Saturday might have been the best game of Justin Barron's career as far as what I've seen from him. What have you seen out of him and his change of roles of late?
So I think we always knew what Justin Barron was, and his utilization, how he was going to be employed out on the field. And the biggest thing for me is it's just this. He does it quietly, right? Like it's not a lot of pomp and circumstance. He's out there. He's flying around. He's doing his job. But the stats that he put up this week, and he got the accolade from the ACC regarding that. But the biggest thing is, 8 tackles. That's kind of in the wheelhouse of what he normally is. And then, the 2 TFLs, the sack, the interception, all of these things that you're like, okay, now he's a big-time player. He's going to put people on notice, and now it's just consistency behind it. We know what that ceiling is, and we kind of see where he is progressing to. But, now it's the opportunity for him to just, if he can do this day in and day out, and you get a guy like Marlo Wax back, this is a very formidable defense. And, it's just what can you do against, a team like Pitt, right? I think they're rolling a little bit. And, I think for Syracuse right now, it's go in there and you put people on notice if you come out of there with a victory. Yeah. You put a lot of teams on notice if you come out of there with a hostile environment. Big-time football and big-time game on national TV, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, first time Pitt's been 6-0, I believe it is, since some guy named Marino was playing quarterback down that way, and obviously Syracuse is 5-1. I'm trying to remember back, Adam. Obviously, you played in a bunch of Pitt games. It felt like, for many years, like Syracuse had a massive advantage in the series, then it almost immediately flipped, right? And Pitt's had an advantage for a while. I don't recall, I got to go through it here, I don't recall a year where both teams maybe have had as much on the line for a Cuse Pitt game in a really, really long time.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge matchup, and I think they are in a situation where a lot of people are starting to talk about Pitt, right? And we're the underdog that comes in there, and underdog in the sense of we're 5-1 and they're undefeated, and it's going to be one of those tussles. It's going to be to me, it's going to be more of that Big East tussle. It's not a good field. It's going to be torn apart a little bit. The weather could be crummy. How does that take a guy like Kyle McCord out of the game? Is he a gunslinger in the rain? How does that look? And these are all just hypotheticals, but my experience, I played a lot of football games in, I'll call it Heinz Field, but it's Acrisure Field. And, when I was down there with Baltimore and we would go up there in Pittsburgh, and that weather can change and the wind can change. So it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for Syracuse to put everybody else on notice. But the one thing that does stand out to me is we haven't won down there since 2001.
Right.
That's a long time. And if anybody wants to make a statement, if Fran Brown really wants to make a statement on this one, 2001 is a lot, or been quite a few years since we won down there. So good opportunity to get everybody reinvigorated, get that old fan base back in it, and it's fun to watch these guys. Really fun to watch these guys.
Yeah, I haven't won there since there was some redshirt freshman named Adam Terry running around in that game. Well, was that Heinz? Was that the first year of Heinz Field, Adam, or was that their old stadium? I'm trying to remember back.
Oh, no, it was there. Actually, my recruiting visit to Pitt was the last game at Pitt Stadium. Okay. Notre Dame played Pitt, and it was the last one there. And, my memory of Pitt Stadium was everybody brought, like, box cutters and drills and everything, and they were taking everything. And they were taking turf. They were taking benches. They were taking any type of chair. Anything that you could unbolt or you could cut up, they were trying to get. And then as soon as the game ended, people ran out onto the field, And over the PA system, they were saying, "Hey, we have bowl practice coming up. Please do not cut the turf up. We do have a bowl game coming up. Please do not cut the bowl or the stadium turf up." And that was the old Ashton turf back in the day. So, yeah, I mean, I have a relationship with Pitt. You know, that was one of the schools that I looked at when I decided to go to Syracuse. But cool environment down there, whether it's a college or whether it's an NFL game. But it's a great opportunity, and I keep saying it over and over and over again. It's like, this is an opportunity to really put yourself on the mat nationally. And I think for Kyle McCord, too, like, we hear the grumblings of, hey, are you a Heisman-type guy? Like, boom, you do that. Okay, all right, we see you. You're there. Now, we remember you. You were the guy that came from Ohio State. And, it's just taking everybody, not necessarily Syracuse. Because if you're a Syracuse fan, you know what he's capable of doing. He's a pretty ruthless quarterback in slicing and dicing people. But now it's, hey, what does everybody else throughout the country start to see about this guy?
The build-up will be even more when we talk next week, Adam. We're looking forward to this game. I'll be excited to see what the vibe is when we get to next week and we get a little closer. But always good to chat, Adam. Enjoy the weekend off, and we'll talk again next week, all right?
All right, sounds good.
There he is, our guy, Adam Terry. Normally we talk on Mondays. Today is Tuesday. Whoa!